Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the DRFBets race of the day for Sunday, September the 9th, race number 9 at Kentucky Downs. It is the Dueling Grounds Derby for 3-year-olds. It is a race, it is a card you can bet with your very own DRFBets account. Sign up, get a 300% deposit match. Deposit 50, bet with 200. Bets.drf.com is where you need to go. Here's the field for the Dueling Grounds Derby, and like so many of these major races at Kentucky Downs, we've got a big field. It should be a good betting race. You can download free Formulator Pass performances on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order, and Matt, down towards the rail is the number 1 Fred's Twirl and Candy. While he's eligible for a non-winners of 2 life race still, it's good to know that his only win came at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah, certainly. You always want to be cognizant of that sort of thing going over any of these races from Kentucky Downs. This was a horse that really, he was gone for a long time. His 3-year-old campaign didn't start until the end of June, and he's come back and he's run on turf twice. He's earned a couple of decent buyer speed figures, low to mid 80s. I just think he's going to need to move up. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I guess there was also a part of me that wonders how far. What's his ultimate game? Is he going to be a more middle distance horse, or is he going to find this mile and 5/16 to his liking?
That's one of my major concerns with Fred's Twirl and Candy. I'm not sure he's going to want this additional distance. Yes, he ran well last time out at Ellis Park. He came with a 4-wide move on the turn and then flattened out just a little bit late. It was a solid performance, but it was also against a pretty weak field. So he's stepping up in class and distance, but the price will be right. The number 2 is Jailhouse Kitten, who won 2 races in a row for the great Michael Maker before being claimed away from Maker. I think it's a great sign that Maker reclaimed this horse. I don't think it's a great sign that he's listed as a vet scratch at Saratoga on August the 8th, although it looks like he hasn't missed much training time since.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things for the handicappers out there. To me, one of the most potent angles is the claim back by the connections that had lost the horse. And I know it's different ownership this time, but the idea is clearly Maker thinks this horse can run a little bit. The one thing I'm a little bit unsure of is how good this horse actually is. But if you're going to sort of give this horse the benefit of the doubt, it's Maker stretching out a turf horse off of the claim. I think you could do worse than 15-1 with Maker and Jose Ortiz. Last
time in for Maker, though, he was in for a $30,000 condition claimer. He got a hot pace to set him up, and he came rolling late. But you make all of the good points. Maker off the reclaim, Jose Ortiz, big price, big connections. The number 3 is Zero Gravity. This is a son of Orb. It's nice to see that the Orbs have really done well on turf, and this horse won his maiden 2 starts back at Canterbury. He was supposed to win that day at 3-5, and you have to question the competition. One horse did come back to win, but he needed to drop into a $10,000 maiden claimer on dirt to do so.
From a figure standpoint, I don't know where this horse fits in. You brought up the Orbs. It seems like they're going to be long-distance turf runners at this point anyway. The problem I have with this horse, his turf form just leaves a little bit to be desired from a figure standpoint and from a class standpoint.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector. I'm not sure there's going to be a ton of speed in here. The number 4 Rewrite is stretching out, and he is pretty quick, and he is one of your favorites. I'm not sure if he's kind of a burner that's going to make the lead, or maybe he'll just make the lead by default. This is a horse that was just a little bit overmatched last time out in the Jim Dandy. He's run well on turf in the past. I'm a little concerned about distance with him.
Agreed. You know, I liked that Mystic Lake Derby from him, that effort anyway. It was a fast pace, he was wide, and the fact that he stuck around, I thought that was encouraging. Then they tried the dirt in the Jim Dandy. You can understand after Justify was retired. I'm with you, though. I'm not totally convinced that this is a horse that's going to want to go this sort of long distance. I think he might be best at a flat mile or a mile and a 16th. Look, if he just takes over this thing by default, I mean, yeah, obviously he's a little bit interesting because I can make the case he's one of the more talented horses in the race, but I'm just going to be very, very concerned when we get to that final quarter mile.
Third start back from Dubai for Rewrite, who's showed a couple of bullet workouts on the turf since the Jim Dandy. The 5 is Cullum Road. This horse was claimed by Maker for 62.5, 3 starts back, has improved slightly with 2 starts and improved with blinkers last time out, although that race was a non-winners of 1 other than at Saratoga. It featured a hot pace, and Cullum Road just couldn't get there. Now, I think this horse will get the distance. I'm just not sure if he's good enough.
And I suppose the only thing, I guess, if you wanted to spin a positive, like you say, the blinkers were on for the most recent start, and he was coming on at the end over yielding ground. There's a scenario, if the rains do show up on Saturday, maybe there's some residual moisture in the turf on Sunday. I don't know, maybe there's a scenario where there's a chance that this additional distance is the great equalizer. I agree. At face value, I don't love him, But if you want a horse that can stay, I think Cullum Road's probably one of them.
The 6 Bandua ran really well in his North American debut for the legendary Irish trainer Dermot Weld. That was a pretty fast pace in the Secretariat, and William Buick hustled this horse out of there to get a nice spot in the pocket, chasing that fast pace, probably faster than what he's used to in Europe. He finished evenly behind that big long shot Carrick and that big favorite Analyze It. I'm always worried about these Europeans' second time in North America, but you got to figure he's going to appreciate the configuration at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah, I remember going through the races when he was over in Europe, getting ready for him to come over in the Secretariat, and I wrote in my horse notes, you can do that in Formulator, he's just a stayer. He's going to run all day, and if he has a little bit of tactical speed, which I think he does, and he brings that into a race like this, if he's 2 or 3 lengths off the pace, I think there's a real scenario where if you think any of those other horses that are in front of him, if they've got major distance concerns, Bandua, I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think he's a logical contender in here.
Plus, we are expecting some wet weather in Kentucky Downs this weekend, and both of this horse's wins overseas came over heavy ground. Captivating Moon is the number 7, and Captivating Moon's been a bit of a nibbler. I do think he has some ability, but it's worth noting. 11 starts, 6 times second for your morning line favorite at 3-1. In the Secretariat, he finished behind Bandua, and I thought he had the best of it from a pace standpoint.
Yeah, and they tried blinkers that day, and I think that was a sign that Chris Block is trying to get something else out of this horse, because it just feels like he's kind of plateaued. I liked him as a 2-year-old. He showed some good things early on here as a 3-year-old. Thought you might be looking at one of the better turf horses of his generation, and I just don't think he's gotten really any better. And through 11 lifetime starts, the fact that he's run second or third 7 times, that alone is bad enough. But from a figure standpoint, I'm just not seeing any sort of tremendous improvement. I think he's kind of an underlay at 3-1.
Zanesville, to me, is an interesting long shot at 15-1 for Tom Amoss, Flavian Pratt. This is a horse trying turf for the first time. Now, the Tisnow's not known for winning first out on turf, only 7%, but this dam's a half-sister to Stardom Bound, who won 5 Grade 1 stakes races over a synthetic surface, and Zanesville's best race arguably came over the polytrack in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Something tells me this horse is going to like turf, he's going to like distance, and he's going to be a price.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting at the end of his 2-year-old year, they tried to get him on the turf and it just came off. So clearly this has been something that's at least been in the mind of the connections. I think this is the kind of horse you get Flavian Pratt. That's probably going to depress your price a little bit. I think this is an instance where if you don't love anyone else and you think that there are questions about horses staying the distance, I think he's going to be able to see out the distance. I think he's going to take to the turf. 15-1, I don't think you're going to get that, but I think he is interesting. Calumet
Farm homebred Channel Cat is a very dangerous and logical contender. He finally got away from Catholic Boy last time out, but he faced a salty group of older horses led by Focus Group, who came out of that race to win the John's Call with a 100 Beyer speed figure. Also, Channel Cat was chasing a pretty good pace. The last run was the best run in that race, and Channel Cat moved early.
Yeah, he did. This is a horse for Todd that I've liked for a long time, and it just felt like it's taken a little bit of time for him to put it all together. And I think also something that you can't ignore, I think he's gotten better as the distances have gotten longer, and that's really what is going to play into his hooves on Sunday. Now, maybe he won't appreciate the configuration, but you brought up that most recent run. I just think he's coming out of the most important or the best race out of any of these horses. It happened to be against older horses, and it's already come back to be a legitimate run. You brought up Focus Group. The 4th and 6th place finishers also returned to earn 92. So I think in many ways, Channel Cat might be arguably the horse to beat.
Morning Stride completes the field off the Amoss claim. This horse a beaten favorite at Saratoga last time out, but the winner's okay. Factor this came back to run 3rd in a stakes race at Indiana Grand with an 84 Beyer speed figure. This horse does seem to have a little bit of ability and some stamina on the bottom of his pedigree, but it's a big hiking class.
He also brings a little tactical speed to the game, and that could be important. Break from that outside, get into the run a little bit earlier. I don't love him on paper, but I think you could do worse than these connections at 10-1.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the $400,000 Dueling Grounds Derby. You like Channel Cat for Todd Pletcher, 95 Beyer last time out. This horse has always had potential, and it looks like he's finally reaching it.
Yeah, and maybe this is what he's wanted all along. Just really stretch him out, get to those longer distances. And you brought up the company that he's kept. Forget about that most recent run against the older horses. He just keeps running into horses like Catholic Boy and Analyze It. And he's probably not quite as good as them You get him out to this sort of distance against this class level. I think he's arguably the horse to beat in here, but I'm going to use quite a bit of Bandua as well.
I'm with you. I like Bandua in here. Heavy ground, long distance. I think that's going to work for him, but I also have to use Channel Cat. He's my second pick. I think the 7 is also a little bit interesting, Captivating Moon, but he's kind of made his career as a nibbler, and I think he might be best used underneath at a short price in single race exotics. Maybe Fred's Twirl and Candy, my 4th choice, can sort of sneak into the exotics as well. 6-9-7-1 for me. Matt's going Channel Cat, Bandua, and the $400,000 Dueling Grounds Derby. Bet it with a new DRFBets account. Be rewarded with a 300% deposit match. Bets.drf.com is where you need to go for all the details and approximate post time for the Derby, the Dueling Grounds Derby on Sunday, 5:33 Central. Good luck.